So in this video, I'm going to be talking about magic and supernatural body parts. I guess that's how I'm going to say it. Okay, there's a theme here. Okay, I think the very obvious thing is when it was a very huge theme in the ancient world, and now a little bit. Okay, they thought that if you had supernatural powers, that not only did you have them when you were alive, you still had these supernatural powers after you died. They wanted your body. Certain people wanted your body parts for supernatural reasons, okay? And probably the most obvious two, other than Jesus, okay, is, which I'll bring up later, is when Moses died, Satan and an angel fought over his body, okay? Why? And they'll say why. It's because people wanted to use his body as an idol. And yeah, there's so much revelation in that. There's so much revelation in that. And another really obvious one where they make a reference to this is Elijah's. So Elijah's body. It says a man fell on Elijah's body and he came back to life. Like, this is a theme in the ancient world. They thought people with supernatural powers had supernatural bodies even after death. Okay? This is very important. Okay? And this is a theme in many stories, not just biblical stories. Like, for example, the story of Medusa and the Cyclops. Okay, I made a couple of videos about them a while back. The story of Medusa is these are obviously like supernatural beings, supernatural people. Okay, and what happened with Medusa is that they went and cut off her head. Okay, and they used her head for magical powers. Okay, they used her head to turn monsters into stone, and they also said that her blood can give you life again, or make you live forever, make you become immortal. So she had a supernatural head, a supernatural blood, supernatural body. Okay, and trust me, God uses a parallelism with Jesus. He does. Okay, because God doesn't talk about things we understand now. He talks about things how people understood them back then. Okay, because they literally thought this was literal. These are not just stories. And the story of the Cyclops. The Cyclops is these guys came and they took out his eye. They actually could have wanted his actual eyeball because they thought he was supernatural. Okay, they were collecting body parts. Okay, collecting bodies of supernatural beings. Okay, and that's not just a story that literally happened. Okay, people have been doing this. Okay, evil people. Okay, have been collecting body parts for supernatural reasons, and you're not supposed to do that. Okay, it's idolatry. It's actually the most disgusting form of idolatry. Okay, like in Moses' body, they'll say, why didn't they why did Satan want Moses' body? Because he wanted his power. He wanted to take his power. Okay, and then that literally did happen. It's not just a story. Okay, people collecting body parts of saints, okay, to make themselves look good or for ritualistic reasons is something that actually did happen. Okay, people are, and for some reason it's considered holy when it's actually disgusting. This is disgusting, and I don't have no idea if the obviously I'm talking about the Roman Catholic Church. They display remains of people like they're Jeffrey Dahmer or something, like they're mass murderer showing off their body parts they've collected, like Dexter or something. This is extremely disrespectful and creepy. You should feel creeped out by this, not say that this is holy. God literally warned you not to do this. This is the most disgusting form of idolatry. Even if you think these body parts have supernatural powers or not, even if you think they're just displaying them to make themselves look good, like, oh, look, we have relics. It's disrespectful and disgusting. God literally warned you not to do this. Okay, you're not supposed to hang up corpses in your church saying that it's holy, and that's what God wanted. God will even use the parallelism. But Jesus was killed, he was hung on the cross. Yeah, but the Romans did that to him. The evil people did that to him. They displayed his body. You're the evil person in this story. Okay? Like that woman who wanted John the Baptist's head. There's a reason why she wanted his head, but that woman just ended up being the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? Alright? These people in the Bible are people now. They're not, it's not from a story from a long time ago. This is happening right now before your eyes. And people think it's holy and nice. I'm like, this is disgusting. And you can argue all day long if this is really their body parts. That's not the point, almost. Okay? And I'll be honest with you, there's a reason why they have all the heads. Because they're the ones who killed them. Okay? It's like a serial killer having all his body parts and wondering how he got them. They are the ones who killed these people. They even admit to half of it. Okay? They can't even decide if they're good, holy or not. They still display them. Okay, they are the ones responsible for the story. And it's so funny because even in the ancient stories, okay, so the Romans and the Greeks, they're gods, quote unquote gods, or they're heroes. They're the ones that went and killed Medusa's head. Even if she was evil or not, you're not supposed to be doing that, right? Or they went to go kill the Cyclops. They went to go get the Cyclops' eye. Hello, that really did happen. Okay? And it happens God uses the parallelism in the Bible. So back then they thought people with supernatural powers had supernatural body parts and they wanted to take it for themselves. Okay? That God uses the parallelism. Samson, he had his eyes cut out and they had his hair cut out. Because they actually wanted to use those things for themselves, ritualistically. They wanted his power. So they cut off his hair and eyes. Okay? Just like Roman Catholic Church, they displayed the body parts. Okay, they're the bad people in the story. They're the evil people in the story. Okay, you're not literally supposed to believe. Yes, you're supposed to. You believe in the body and blood of Jesus, but you're not literally supposed to hang up body parts and literally carry on blood with you. That's horribly creepy. Okay. Oh man. I can't believe how billions of people are falling into this, thinking that this is what God wants you to do. It's disgusting. It's so disrespectful and disgusting. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. Okay, Satan in the story is the actual people now. It's the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, they're doing this. But it's not just them. I know that there are other people doing ritualistic things with body parts, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, and you have to keep in mind that they probably thought that Elijah had magical powers, and that does do that weird thing with Elijah's bones, okay? And then people wanted their body parts. Even after the first Elijah died, it'll tell you priests went to go look for his body parts, okay? And the thing is, God tried to stop this as much as possible. Most, if you read the Bible, okay, God collected people's body parts. He collected their bones. They collected Joseph's bones. They collected Samson's bones. Okay. They collected Sarah's bones later. Okay. God was hiding their bodies for this reason. Okay, because he didn't want people to take their body parts and use them for ritualistic purposes, magical or ritualistic purposes. And I have no idea if their bodies were actually supernatural or not. Okay, but God hid their bodies. Even lots of the people in the Bible, they don't know where they are, and that's a good thing. Okay, and I have theories about where they are, not like literally on Earth, but God hid them. He has to hide their bodies because people for this reason, okay? And you might wonder why God allowed, if God was hiding people's bodies, like Moses and like no one knows where, like lots of people, but they don't know where they are buried. A lot of them anyway. Okay, no one knows for sure. A lot of them anyway. Okay, it's because God didn't want this to happen. But you might wonder then why did God allow, if this is even Mary Magdalene and John the Baptist's head, why did God allow some evil people to have their heads? It's probably for a good reason. It's probably because God was trying to expose them. Okay? He still used their body parts to expose them. He's showing you how not holy this church is, because you're not supposed to be doing this. That's probably why he let it happen a little bit. Maybe this is John the Baptist's head. Maybe this is Mary Magdalene's head. Okay? And God let it happen to expose them. Okay, he let them put their own foot in their mouth. He's showing you, not them, he's showing you who they are. He's not, so God is not, so God is using this to expose them. He's showing them not who John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene are, but he's showing them who they really are. Okay, what they're really about. Okay, because this is evil. Okay, so this is in Jude. Okay, Jude. Book of Jude, and this is talking about Moses' body, how Satan wanted, but it's not just talking about Satan, it's talking about how people wanted these people's body parts, okay? So I'm going to read it because it's not just talking about Satan, it's talking about people who do this, like churches, like the Roman Catholic Church, okay? Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner give themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, and set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal life. So this is going after flesh, like body parts, okay? He's comparing these people to the people in Sodom and Gomorrah who collect people, who collect bodies, okay? Likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. This is talking about collecting, making idols out of flesh, actual flesh, okay? Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses. Durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, "The Lord rebuke thee." Okay? But these speak evil of those things which they know not. But they know naturally as brute beasts, and those things they corrupt themselves. So this is talking about these types of people. Okay? He's calling them beasts. He's calling them defiling dreamers, okay, thinking that this is holy and nice. He's rebuking not only the devil, he's rebuking people who do this, aka the Roman Catholic Church, main people, all right? He rebukes this. You're not supposed to do this, of course. Samson's bones, okay, he collected Sarah's bones. God hides these bodies on purpose. He was keeping these bodies hidden for these exact reasons. It's possible that they did have magical powers attached to their body. It depends how freaky you want to get. Okay, and he didn't want anyone else using it. Okay, because that's literally what happened. Or they tried to do that. Even with Joseph's body, okay. It'll tell you that the Israelites took his body later because the Egyptians were going to do weird things with his body. They were going to sacrifice his body to the Nile because they thought his body had supernatural powers to it, attached to it, and they were going to use it for their own benefit. Okay, that's why Satan wanted Moses' body. He was going to use their body for their own benefit. Okay, and so I want to bring up something else. They wanted a piece of them. They wanted their blood or their body parts, or they wanted to make their power theirs. Like the Philistines probably took Samson's eyes and hair because they wanted his power. But it can be fertility reasons. Okay, what I mean is, if you read the story of Joseph, okay, Potiphar's wife tried to sleep with him. It's probably not just because she thought he was attractive or something. It's probably because they wanted to have a baby with them to have a piece of their power. Okay, because they thought they had magical powers. They wanted to produce with them, like, so they can have control over their child, and so they can have that power for themselves. Do you get what I'm saying? That's probably why Potiphar's wife tried to sleep with Joseph. There's a deeper meaning going on here, and that's probably what they were doing with Samson as well. Yes, they took his eyes and hair, but the Philistine woman, okay, Delilah, was probably trying to reproduce with him. She was probably purposely trying to get pregnant because they thought he had magical powers and they wanted that baby for themselves. Do you get the meaning behind that? Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, all right. That's why in the ancient world, some of these people weren't allowed to have children and stuff like that. Like Mary Magdalene, she didn't have any children because I believe she was a supernatural person. I believe she was a witch, though. I believe she converted, though. There's a reason why these people are called eunuchs in the Bible. Even in the book of Daniel, these supernatural diviners, they're called eunuchs because they didn't want them to have children sometimes because people are going to use their kids against them, okay? They, you know, I mean, they were worried that they couldn't control the situation. They were trying to control the situation, okay? Because that some of that stuff is genetic, okay? It's genetic, okay? They didn't want their families to take claim of their bodies later, and they didn't want their power to go all over the world. They tried to contain the situation. Even the Oracle of Delphi wasn't allowed to have children, okay? Because they were trying to contain the situation, okay? They didn't want another group of people to take their children and use it for themselves, okay? But the thing is, the opposite of what was trying to happen with Joseph and Samson. A woman tried to have a baby with them, probably because they wanted to reproduce and take part of their power, okay? And believe it or not, I believe that happened with Jesus too. Someone did try to reproduce with him, okay? That a very unclean woman tried to reproduce with Jesus. That person was it was Mary Magdalene, okay? The reason why I say that, and lots of people have made this connection, okay? So Mary Magdalene, it calls her an unclean woman. It says she was attached to 7 unclean spirits, okay? And lots of time these witches and these people, unclean people, they would try to sleep with these men, like Potiphar's wife and Joseph, like Samson and Delilah, and like with Mary Magdalene and Jesus, okay? My point is, like, so when it says this unclean woman put oil on Jesus's feet, there is a sexual metaphor, a really ancient sexual metaphor there that I won't get into right now, okay? But prostitute, God uses this so many different perspectives, okay? Mary Magdalene, this isn't something always good happening. People use the perspective that Mary Magdalene or this unclean woman putting oil on his feet is a good thing, but there's an actual sexual reference. It meant that, long story short, there's a ancient symbolism of that she was hitting on him. Okay, there's like there's a fertility, a sexual reference there. Okay, that she was hitting on him for the same reasons probably. So God does use that with Jesus too, but you're gonna have to look into the symbolism of the oil on the feet. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to the eunuch thing. So most of the time, God does tell you to be fruitful and multiply, but sometimes with the very supernatural people in the Bible, God didn't allow them to have children. As far as I know, Samson didn't have any children, probably because God, for these very bad reasons, okay? People are just going to kidnap them or try to use them for witchcraft or something, okay? Alright, and it was just too dangerous for them for that time and that place to have children, okay? Mary Magdalene wasn't allowed to have children. God literally told Jeremiah not to have a wife or child, okay? And obviously Jesus didn't have a literal wife and a literal children, okay? Not literally, okay? And sometimes God does give specific rules to specific people when you develop a relationship with him. Sometimes they're different. For example, God told Samson not to cut his hair, but that's not a rule that God said to everyone. That was just for him. That could be a fertility reference too, like he told him not to have children. Okay, but he did anyway, or tried to. Alright? Or Delilah tried to trick him into doing it. Okay? There's a lot, sometimes God does do that. Okay. Okay, and believe it or not, you can take that reference with Mary and Jesus when Mary is pregnant, okay? I know the 3 wise men, people view them as being good, and you can take that perspective. I'm not saying you can't use that perspective, but the Bible doesn't say they were good or bad. It just says these 3 men, or these people who had 3 gifts, okay, went to go find Jesus when he was born or when he was younger. Okay, that's all it says. It doesn't say they were good or not. That's because God uses them to explain multiple things, not all good. For example, these could have been demons. Wise men, demons in the Bible and angels in the Bible are just called men sometimes. They're just called men. Okay? I'll bring that up another time. They could have been people. Wise men could also just mean people who are doing black magic. It's possible that these were like witches or black magic people or Satanists looking for Jesus because they wanted the baby for ritualistic purposes, just like they wanted his body for ritualistic purposes. They wanted to. You can use the perspective that they were going to offer Mary money to buy Jesus, because those 3 gifts are just really expensive items for trade. They could have just been trying to buy the baby. You know what I mean? You can make them real evil if you wanted to. Okay, you could say that they were trying to kill Jesus when he was a baby, or they were trying to buy Jesus from Mary. Like, they went to go offer her gifts. Right? You know what I mean? You can use so many different perspectives with the three wise men. The whole thing could have been happening with Mary, not just with Joseph and not just with Samson. When Mary, they believed that she was going to have a supernatural baby. Some people probably did believe it, and they wanted the baby for ritualistic purposes, either to kill it or to raise him up as a Satanist or something like that, okay? Or witchcraft, okay? You can absolutely take that perspective. You can make the wise men real evil if you wanted to, because the Bible doesn't specifically say they're good or not. Okay? You can use multiple perspectives with them, alright? I know these are hard concepts to grasp, but they are things that happen in real life, back then and now, okay? They're ugly to look at and to think about, but it happens, so you have to think about it, okay? You can make them real nasty. You can say that they were trying to sleep with Mary, okay, because they thought she was a supernatural being having a supernatural baby, because that's a theme in the ancient world and now. You could say they were offering her money because they wanted to sleep with her to get the power, okay? Yeah, you can get real nasty with the three wise men if you want to, and God probably does use those perspectives if you're brave enough to view them, okay? And of course, I'm going to bring this all to Jesus, okay? There's a reason why people wanted his body. It was for the same reasons they wanted Moses' body. It's the same reason they wanted Elijah's body. Okay, they thought it had supernatural power. He thought he had supernatural powers, which he did, and they thought his body was still contained that power. Okay? That's why they put guards the Romans put guards at his body. And it's not because they were protecting him from other people. They may have, not because they were trying to actually protect him. They wanted the body for themselves. For their own weird witchcraft, weird reasons. Okay? They thought Satan and these evil people thought that the body, they were going to use Moses' body and Joseph's body and Jesus' body for their own benefit. That's why Satan wanted Moses' body. Okay? They thought they were going to get that power. And of course, that was probably one of the main reasons why Satan wanted to kill Jesus and the Romans and everyone else. But they wanted his body, okay? Because he wasn't going to consent to working for them. Because he wasn't going to consent to working for them when he was alive, so they were just going to use his body without his permission. You know what I mean? All right, but God gives that permission to us, though. You get what the deeper meaning by Jesus says He gives us His body and blood. He's going to give that to us, okay? But surprise, that power came to us. God gave that power to the Christians, okay? He gave that magic blood and the magic body parts to us. That's why God says, "I'm going to give my body to you." Not to Satan, not to the weird witchcraft people, to you. I'm going to give that power to you. Okay, God does use the thinking behind it. But no, you're not literally supposed to carry around blood or hang up corpses on your church. Okay? You're not supposed to hang up dead people. Are you kidding me? Okay? And of course, that's the main reason why Jesus' body had to disappear. Because it would have been idolized. I am so glad no one has Mary's body. I don't even want to know what the clown show that would look like. Okay? Because it's so disrespectful to do that. Okay? You're not supposed to worship body parts as idols, which is exactly what's happening here. So, like in some Catholic traditions, especially down like in Mexico, and I'm not saying there aren't good Christians in Mexico. There are good Christians in Mexico, but they're not the Catholic ones. Okay? They make Mary look very skeletal, and she looks like the bride of death or something. You know, they make her very skeletal. She looks like Skeletor. You turn Mary into Skeletor, okay? And they think I'm disrespecting Mary. When you're the one disrespecting Mary, you're the one being disrespectful to Mary and John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene by doing this. You have to keep in mind that Mary and these guys, they were Jewish. Do you have any idea how against the Jews were and are about doing this? Okay, they were absolutely against death and hanging up bodies and playing around with dead body parts. They're so against it. They'd be so disrespected that you're doing this to them. If they know what's going on, they are not happy about it. Okay, Mary is not looking down on you, real happy that you turned her into Skeletor. She's going, I have nothing to do with you. You're the one disrespecting Mary, not me. You're disrespecting these people. I'm trying to call you out on it, so you stop. Repent while you still can. This is disgusting. Alright? Anyway, please think about this stuff, guys, and thank you.